have Judge Tyler Atkinson. He's from Denton, Texas, and he has this wonderful not mobile app, but traffic application that really improves the user experience. Traffic is, of course, a very big division, so any improvements there are certainly welcome. He's also the winner of the CTC Court Capers Challenge for this application, and it's come a long way even since then, so we're looking forward to hearing about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I can juggle. We got it. Awesome. So we are a municipal court in Texas. It's mainly handles Class C misdemeanor charges, so traffic and then some minor assaults, theft under $100, and then also I act as a magistrate in the court system, doing jail arraignments for individuals who are arrested by our local PD, reading rights, setting bail, protective orders, interlock orders, etc. Denton is located generally like 45 minutes north of Dallas, Fort Worth, and then about 60 minutes south of Oklahoma border. So we're kind of way up there in the top of Texas. I know we've got, I think Laredo is here, and then also there's some Collin County people from Texas. So, and I also saw Texas OCA was present here also. So going to talk about fun tech that we've developed and deployed in Denton, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to go over principles with you. Also, I, on the side, am a professor at Texas Wesleyan University. And so anytime I get to talk and teach and kind of go over some fun principles, then I'm going to take it. Our first two quotes get us started on this venture. The first is, our processes don't need to be as old as our principles. So lots of my stuff comes from Richard Susskind's book on future court. I think this is a direct quote from him. It's an amazing yellow book. Grab it, read it multiple times. The quote says that, yes, we're going to advance forward into the future. We're going to make our courts better, more efficient, expand access to justice services to our court users, but we're also not leaving behind the fundamental goals and purposes that our courts are built upon from the founding, from before our founding. And so we're not going to get rid of the purposes, the efficiency, the goals of the court as we move forward into the future. Second quote is the opposite side of the coin. Let me see if I click the animation. I do click the animation. Awesome. It says, don't change for the sake of change alone. Just because you have a budget, maybe, just because you have a fancy new tech that might come in and look cool, doesn't mean we need to adopt that tech. If the things that we're doing work well now, then we don't need to throw money at a problem that doesn't exist. So we're not going to change just to change, but also if there are ways of improving the user experience in our court system, then we're going to look at adapting those. All right, component parts of justice. I've got 5 listed here. They're substantive justice, procedural justice, distributive, proportional, and open justice. Substantive justice is the concept of fair decisions. Did the outcome of the individual case align with the law? Were all options presented to the defendant? Why are we talking about this in a tech conference? I'll give you an example of a concept of substantive justice in the area of technology. Municipal courts, traffic courts, high volume courts. Whenever we started to develop online presences, we put a button on our website that said pay now. Allowed folks who are interacting with our system to click that button and submit a payment to resolve their case. The problem was that was the only option we gave defendants online or court users online. And it is associated with, in Texas at least, a negative outcome. It's going to result in a criminal conviction or at least a conviction that goes on somebody's driving record. That was the only thing we were displaying. Through the code, through the technology, we were limiting the options that a defendant had to efficiently resolve their cases. There's many courts in Texas that this is what they own, the only option they have on their website currently. If somebody wants to quickly resolve the case without having to come in and interact with a court staff member, then they click the button, pay, and take a conviction. That's not substantive justice, at least to me. They should see all of their options that they would have available if they came in and talked to prosecutor, talked to judge, and be able to select one of those outcome options through a court's website or technology. Procedural justice asks the question, was the process fair? Did the user have a voice in interacting with the system? Are you limiting the options that a defendant has? Or do they have a voice in how they interact with your system? In every area, we've got lots of fun tech in Denton, but along the way, we say, if you don't want to interact with this system, here's our phone number, here's our email, or you can click this button and come in and see us. We'll set up a time where you can talk to the judge directly. And so if they don't want to interact with RoboCourt, RoboJudge, then they can come in and talk to us individually. They always have a voice, always have the ability to navigate how they want cases resolved. Distributive justice is the concept that justice is a limited service. There's only one of me in Denton. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 is when I'm there. Does tech allow us to expand that out, to expand out the limited resources of the court system? Yes, it does. Proportional justice, the concept is appropriately balanced. Are we spending the same amount of time on a speeding charge as the county would, like on a murder charge? That's not appropriately balanced use of resources. Instead, we should have triage systems set up in the courts where cases that don't need to take a lot of time can be resolved quickly. Cases where the defendant wants more time spent on their case, like a jury trial or a bench trial, are able to select that route and have more time spent on their case. 70%, 90% of cases can be triaged and resolved within a week of that case being issued. And we have that a lot in Denton. Then let's get that done so that court resources can be spent on the cases where we need to spend more time on those cases. Last concept, open justice. Technology allows us to track metrics in the court system. We have launched M2 and M3 of the core tools in Denton. Those are NCSC tools. They tell us that after 30 days after a ticket being issued, how well are we doing at resolving the case? At 45 days and at 90 days are the trackers that we have set up in Denton. Open justice is the concept that justice shouldn't just be done, but it should be seen to be done. Members of the community, court users should be able to see that justice is being done in your court. All right, 4 quick future mindset concepts. When I first became a judge, my mentor judge that was showing me the ropes had a concept that he taught me that judges are supposed to sit behind the bench, supposed to sit behind their desk and wait for a case to come across their desk, and then go ahead and make a decision on that individual case, and then wait for the next one to roll across their desk. I think a better model is that a judge should have an outcome option thinking. They must adopt outcome thinking. So the questions are, what processes, what services, what steps can I implement in my court system that leads to the fastest outcomes, consistent with law and with the consent of all of the parties? Are there systems that we can put in place that resolve cases faster, not simply waiting for the case to hit the judge's desk, but are there ways that we can utilize technology to move cases along faster? We want to look at all of the outcome options that are available to a court user, and then work backwards and present those options very early on in the life of a case. So the defendant can see very quickly, here are the outcome options, here are my rights, and then be able to select one of those outcome options. Another concept from Richard Susskind: when people come to court, they don't want to see a judge. When somebody is going in for surgery, they're not necessarily wanting to see the surgeon. What they want is health. People coming to see us, they just want their resolved. They want to see that justice is done on their case, that the outcome seems fair, that in the process was fair, was timely, and was efficient. Next concept that hit for COVID was a big one. Is the court a place or is it a service? Is it a location that people have to come in and talk to you and that's where justice is done? Or are we a place that's offering justice services? And it can be done online. It can be done through text messages with a defendant. It can be done through mobile applications. I think most of us learned that we're going to either be shut down for 1.5 years during COVID, or we're going to transition to justice being a service and not necessarily a place. We can have great locations that provide a sense of awe when people walk through the doors, But fundamentally, we're providing a service for distributing justice to individuals. Already talked a lot about access to justice service. Technology, it allows us to expand the reach of our court system beyond Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Last concept, which leads me to the next slide, is that we are always seeking improvement, not perfection. AI promises perfection maybe at the 10-year route for our court systems, but the goal of technology moving forward is that we just get 1% better, maybe this month, maybe this year. We take steps towards improvement. You go over to the exhibit hall, you'll be absolutely overwhelmed with the amount of technology offerings that are available and people that want money from your court systems in order to make them perfect. The goal moving forward for court staff is just to move forward, move the ball forward even a little bit at making your court system better for the users who are interacting with your system. Some options, and these really go to the concept that technology is defined as something that makes work easier. When we think of tech, especially at this event, we're thinking about ones and zeros, a computer screen, applications, software as services. But really, technology is a lever, it's a pulley, it's anything that makes work easier for you or your court staff. That concept is expressed here on the slide. If you have a case that moves from this step to this step, and it takes 90 days for the case to move between that step and the next step, is there a way that we can make it 60 days? Is there a good reason for that to be a 90-day delay between this step and that next step? Somebody asked for a jury trial. Does it take 90 days to get there? Is there a reason why it takes 90 days to get there? Are we setting that time frame up for the exception to the rule? There's one case that's going to need 90 days. The rest of them might not. Okay, are we allowing the exception to create the rule? Staff touches per case. Are staff having to look at a case when it gets filed, when before a docket, after a docket, 30 days later, and then 60 days later, and then they close it out and they look at it again? Are there ways of minimizing the touches that staff has to take on individual cases? We have a rule in Denton that if we can resolve the case today, we're going to resolve the case today. Higher courts, y'all are dealing with murder cases. I know you can't resolve a murder case in a day. But for high volume courts, that's a principle that's very easy to implement. We're not sending people away. We're not granting extensions where we can. We're going to resolve the issue today if we can. Forms and fields. If you've got a 3-page form, does it really need to be 3 pages? Are you asking people to go out and get blood samples and their tax return and grandma's blah, blah, blah? Are all of those information really needed? Sending somebody away to go get that information, if it's not really needed, if we can just sign them up for the program today, sign them up for the program today if the law doesn't require all of that information. Dockets, can we merge dockets to make room in our schedule? Space, judge staff availability. Do judges need to be more available to you or less available? I'm a 24/7 judge, which means my is always on, even at 2 a.m. for blood warrants, etc. So that's my availability. Most judges are not like that, though. Cool. All right. This is just a slide to give you some background on our court. This is a year worth of data. It might be very tiny up there. We're considered a medium-sized court in Texas. So we have 17,000 cases coming in. We only had 3 jury trials. I try not to brag on that too much because then the numbers are going to go up for the next year. Effectively, for jury trials, we shut the court down in order to host a jury trial in our court. It's our court admin is our jury coordinator and has to run everything. So our M3 case resolution rates at 30 days, we're at 58% of cases where an individual has selected an outcome option. They've requested deferred driver safety course. They've started on a payment plan. They paid their case in full. So within 30 days of a life of a ticket, we have 58% case resolution rate. Span that out to 90 days, and we have 97% of our cases where they've selected an outcome option. Very proud of that number. All right, now let's get into what I'm actually supposed to be talking to you all about. With the last few minutes of my discussion here. There we go. Okay, within 3 days of somebody getting a ticket, they get a text message from our court. It takes them to an online system where they see their rights. It was very important to me when we worked with the vendor to develop the system. I didn't want a pay now button before they got to see their rights. Here are your rights before I ask for any money or any options for resolving your case. If they have questions about any one of those rights, they can highlight over like what is presumption of innocence, and it explains that more to them. They see what their options are. In that text message, also, there's a video where they can watch a YouTube video of me explaining the online system, explaining what their rights are, and helping them navigate through the online system. They select one of their cases, and they see unique outcome options that are available to them based on the law and court policy. If somebody has an assault charge with the court, they click on this link to see what their outcome options are. They're not going to see driver safety course. You can't take a driver safety course to take care of an assault charge. If they have a speeding charge, DSC might be an option that they're going to see whenever they click the button to see what their outcome options are. So it's set up based on the 1,000+ offenses that we have in our system, 14 unique defendant parameters, and then I think a few like commercial driver's license DL type issues as well. They get to see what their options are. They get to immediately take action. They can select one of those outcome options that they want to select. Go ahead, if there are legal requirements like uploading their driver's license, uploading insurance, making payments, they can do all of that right from that text message link. There's the doctor in the TARDIS or a judge in the TARDIS. So if they're on their phone, it allows them to open the camera app on their phone and take an image of whatever proof that they need to submit with them. Cool. So that's the initial text message. We also have customized notifications that go out just in time to a defendant based on their case status. Somebody requests deferred, 90 days go by and they haven't done everything they were supposed to. The system automatically knows that they're in default, that they need to do something, and sends them a text message without court staff intervention and says, hey, you need to go onto our website and submit these things that are due with your deferred disposition. Somebody has community service. Here's the link. You need to submit your community service hours. Somebody, the other cool one is you've got a court date today. Somebody has a court date. They'll get a reminder the week before, and then the day of, they get a text message that has a link saying, click here to join the Zoom call. I tell my city council, who are my bosses, I'm appointed, not elected. I tell my city council members that it's like we send an Uber to go bring people to the courthouse. Obviously, the being able to resolve your case quickly, select an outcome option has hugely increased our compliance rates. The ability of people to respond very quickly at 2 a.m. if they wanted to do that at 2 a.m. has been huge. But also that customized notification helps with our fail to appear rates, fail to comply rates. Helps to keep our fail to comply rates low, because individuals aren't just getting the legally required notices, but they're getting tons of text messages along the way if they're not complying with what they're supposed to be complying with. We've got fun virtual court information, virtual court systems, check people in for the docket, send them documents to sign, and ability to make payments. So lots of fun tech. Let me see in my notes if there was something else. I think I very much went off script. So these are our report outs from this system over a year period of time. Total system interactions, people going online and interacting with the system, 114,000 touches. Those either represent people who would have had to come into the court and talk to court staff, or send an email or make a phone call, or I bet a lot of that would be people who wouldn't have interacted with the system at all. So it's either reducing staff time, having to deal with those cases, or access to justice increase, which is awesome too. Skipping down to total request, the deferred disposition is kind of like probation for us. The number that went through the online system represents 88% of the total deferreds that came into our court system. So the robo-judge, robo-court handled a huge number, more than a huge number of cases that I myself didn't have to interact with a person and talk to them about their cases. Court staff time wasn't also taken up there. DSC, driver safety course, 97% of our DSC requests went through the court system. Both of those are positive. They're good outcomes for the defendant. It doesn't create a criminal record or a driving record for the individual. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for letting me talk with y'all this afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, we have a few questions in the app. So, did you build this platform internally, or is this the shelf product?
Yeah, so we worked with a tech vendor that's also located in Denton County, Texas, to develop this application.
So is this a web-based app? So they go online?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's a backend that court staff interacts with the system, but it's all based on, it's all online system. So they get text messages that go to them that allows them to log in or to immediately go to their portal to see what their rights and options are.
And so defendants have to opt in when they're cited and they get the text, but they can still do things the old-fashioned way as well?
Correct. Yes. So the officers, once they realize their cases are going to be resolved faster, if they collect text messages from somebody that they're writing a ticket to, our officers began very religiously collecting cell phone information when they issued a ticket. So we have a high number of cases that are hitting our court system that have text message, cell phone numbers already attached to them.
And if a defendant did choose to schedule a hearing, can they do that through the app, or how does that work?
All of our tickets are automatically scheduled for a hearing, and so that's kind of by default. This is a front-end system, meaning it's a way to handle the ticket before they have to come into the court system. So they can interact, take care of their ticket here, and then that court date is pulled off. So everyone gets a court date to start with, but the system allows them to reschedule that court date if they need to. So
it's wonderful. And so if the person opts in, that's when they can supply their cell phone number to get the text notifications?
Yeah, it's automatic. So if the officer has already provided us a cell phone number, if we have that information on a prior ticket for a repeat offender, then the system automatically will send the text message out. There is an opt-out, but the opt-in is automatic. There's no opt-in like you would have to do for Walmart text or Target text message.
Very good. That's all the questions that are in the app. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for your presentations in the lightning round. Very good.